Welcome back, everyone, to the Horror Shed Podcast. I'm Jared. Down below, we have South Jersey Jason.
What
How are
up?
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. It is cold outside.
It is. We're supposed to get a little snow shower tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, supposedly.
Oh, well, we're not. There's no snow in our forecast.
I gotcha. I'm joined by Robert the Doll, who we're going to be talking about shortly.
Yeah, that is pretty creepy you got going on right there.
Yeah, we picked that up at the Waldorf Estate of Fear. Some awesome ladies sold a bunch of these like fake dolls.
For like what, $40 or something?
Yeah, I got this whole thing for $40 with
You
the
you can't
case.
you can't beat that. Not at
No,
all.
a handmade doll. I mean, it's creepy as shit.
What I mean, the case alone is probably worth that much, you know?
Oh yeah, they did a good job with the plexiglass and the riveting. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very nice. So, you have Robert up there for a reason. A couple of weeks ago, we started talking about some haunted dolls. You started off with Annabelle, of course, and we did some honorable mentions. So I figured let's continue this. And I figured let's talk about Robert the Doll, who is not as popular. He's like he's like the cousin, was it cousin George in the Brady Bunch or something, or
Yeah.
whatever his name was. You heard about him once and then they shoved him away.
Do you got any news before we get into this creepy little dude?
Any news? Let's see. My gosh. Well, I just saw on Facebook last night. I totally forgot about this. It's more science fiction, but we have the Aliens TV show coming out on FX.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think they're coming to Earth this time. I think.
Yeah. I then they have Nope just released on Peacock today, so I might actually watch it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was on Peacock. Did you see it yet or no?
No, I really didn't have a big interest because I know it's more sci-fi, but it's Jordan Peele and I've liked some of his. So if it's Peacock, I'll check it out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people have said it was kind of like drawn off a little bit. It wasn't until like the third act is when it really picked up. I was just getting in the holiday spirit watching some Christmas movies earlier. Last night I watched because you had shared it with me. Like, let me watch it again. 8-Bit Christmas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, have you seen that one?
Yeah, yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, that was it brought back a lot of
It
memories.
did. I don't think people born like a couple years after me would fully appreciate it, but I
Yeah.
appreciated it because I remember that day, and I also got the NES on Christmas. So,
Oh, yeah, I didn't get I think I got the NES like a year after it came out.
oh, me too. I think we all
Yeah,
did.
yeah. Last weekend we had
Oh
Monster
yeah,
Mania.
how was that?
It wasn't bad. I went on Sunday, and usually Sundays are on the quiet side, but it had a decent crowd. I got there about 11:30, so it's already been open for 90 minutes, and I had the photo ops with David Howard Thornton at 1 o'clock, so I immediately wanted to go and do my autographs. So I got them out of the way, and um I met the chick from Terrifier 2. I can't think of her real name, but she was like Sienna Sierra.
Yep,
Um,
Philly
so
girl.
yeah, so appreciative of the fans. She was just like, without you guys, we wouldn't be here, and you guys are awesome, and just down to earth. And I was the second person in line for her, so got a little bit of time to talk with her. And petite, tiny,
Yeah.
tiny, yeah. And the kid that played her brother was right next door to her.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, then I met Ashley Banks. She played Phoebe from Monster Squad.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, she played the little sister, and we talked for about 5 minutes, and she said that Andre, who played the lead, like the leader of the Monster
Yeah.
Squad, he's got like a story for a sequel if they could ever get it off the ground. So
It might be time to revisit that with everything
yeah,
working out like Stranger Things and then
hmm,
Ghostbusters with the kids and yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then I met Duncan. I can't think of his last name, Raglan or something like that, but he played Dracula.
Yeah.
And not very talkative.
Okay.
Not very. I was a little let down. I thought he'd be a little bit more, you know. But he beat Liam Neeson to play Dracula in the film. And so who else? I saw the Dream Warriors cast there.
Yeah.
Um, I saw Devin Sawa. He's a lot smaller than I thought he would be,
Oh,
but
okay.
I
I
thought he would
forgot
be
he was there.
taller.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably about my height. I'm 5'7",
Oh,
so
really? I wasn't
yeah.
expecting that.
No, not at all. I didn't see. I guess Danielle Harris was doing photo ops and stuff, but
Yeah.
she was there. But I didn't see her. But I've already met her. Um, the photo op with David Howard Thornton was awesome in his Art the Clown.
The pictures
My
came out great.
Yeah. Oh, I looked like shit though. Working 12 hours, I was like dead. My eyes. I was like, but it was really cool to see his character, like him in character. And that was my first photo op, and it went by very smoothly. The only thing, if I could suggest, is so they had the tables lined up outside. If you hear my dogs, forgive me, they're playing. I'm going to go kill them. Um, they have tables for you to put your belongings on, but there's no one watching that table.
Ah.
That's the only thing if I could suggest, but the line went very smoothly. It was very organized. Overall, the vendors were awesome. I mean, a whole giant room of vendors. And that's what I like going to the conventions for, is to see the vendors
Me
and all the
too.
great stuff.
Yeah.
And I was able to find you your 11 by 17 print, although it was Irene that saw, like, as I was, because not every vendor had like their name on like the backdrop.
Right.
So it was hard to really look for it, but it was the last aisle, one of the last vendors we saw, and Irene just saw it on the table.
Yeah, I want to put
So
that up next to this guy here, so I think that'll be
okay.
perfect.
Yeah.
But how did Oaks feel with a full-on convention?
I like it there. It's not like Cherry Hill that it's very spacious. People are they like Cherry Hill because it's in a hotel, you can party, blah blah blah. But like I said, they cram you in there. You're
Yep.
like a sardine, you know. Um, I mean, they have a food court there. It's a little pricey, but there's two rooms basically, the vendor room, but then it leads into the artist room, talent room, whatever you want to call it. Spacious. You're not confused if you're in the wrong
Oh,
line.
that's a good idea.
Didn't really see any volunteers on the floor in case you had a question, though. That was the only thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, we got there 11:30. I think we left at 3, and we were so hungry. I wanted to go to Moe's as I had a craving for nachos. She wanted a burger. So on the property, there was like a burger joint there, Chi Chi Burger. It's like a 50s theme burger place, which is kind of cool. But if you're gonna have a theme restaurant, name your food after like movie characters or whatever,
Yeah.
or something. If I could just say one thing about them, the burgers were great, the fries were great, onion rings were great. I wanted a soda. They served it in a can, but I'm like, there's a soda machine right there. So they charged me $1.50 for a
A can of
can.
soda.
Yeah. I was like, there goes my refill.
Here's another can.
Yeah, so all in all, it was good. So the next convention that I'll probably attend will be NJ HorrorCon in March. They've already announced Alex Vincent, and I can't think of the girl's name from Child's Play 2 that played like his foster sister. They're always there. They're cool. But they announced Judy Aronson, who was in Friday the 13th Part 4. She was the one that went for a late night swim, and she was on the inflatable raft and
Oh,
got
yeah,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah. I saw
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So she's one that I don't have an autograph for. And just yesterday they announced Richard Tyson, who a lot of people would know him from Kindergarten Cop. He played like the evil ex-husband.
Yeah, he
I
was
re-
3 o'clock high.
that's where I know him from,
Yeah.
Buddy Revell. So he's one that I would like to get an autograph from, as long as his prices aren't outrageous.
Everyone's are.
Yeah, but I can see it if it's someone who's still active,
Yeah.
like say someone from Stranger Things or The
Yeah.
Walking Dead or Halloween, the new trilogy. But if you haven't done something in 30 years, I'm not paying $80 for you. So, which
Yeah, I heard a lot of bitching out of Robert's camp this year, so I'm kind of glad I avoided that.
yeah, was it you telling me? No, was it you telling? No, someone I was talking to on Facebook, or maybe reading a post. He averaged about 10 autographs an hour. So imagine being in that line.
And I heard a lot of times, I think the first 2 days, general admission couldn't even get in there.
No, because I mean, even with VIP, people were pissed off. They're like, I
Yeah,
pay VIP, and I still waited like 4 hours.
yeah.
So they need to think of a better system.
They need a time ticket.
Yeah.
And really, if you did time tickets for all the big celebrities, A, you can charge extra for a time ticket.
Mhm.
B, they're going to spend more money at the vendors because they don't have to sit in line.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're not making money off the vendors, you
They're
know.
making money.
Well, they're making money from the vendors
Yeah.
paying
But
them,
you can
but
still make an extra dime off of a time ticket. Like, all
oh,
right,
for
cool.
sure.
I
For
meet
sure.
Robert at 1:30. I got to be in line by 1:15.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
would I think they would kill it with that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the promoters of that event, they don't really listen when it comes to that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if they did, it would probably run a little bit different
Yeah.
because it seems like every year there's always an issue with like volunteers not knowing anything, and you can't blame the volunteers.
Yeah.
You can only blame who's in charge of the volunteers. So, but I enjoy the Oaks. They're going to make it officially one time out of the year that there'll be an Oaks PA, so it'll always be the same amount of around the same time of the year. I would like to go to the Hunt Valley, Maryland show. It's a little farther. I guess you're not too far from DC, but I hear it's a little bit more spacious than Cherry Hill.
Huh. I'll have to check that out too.
Yeah, yeah. So, any news on your end? Did you read anything or see anything?
Um, I read a post that said Jason Voorhees would be making a big screen uh what the hell's
Like,
the word?
come back from
Yes.
Big Screen?
For
Well,
2023.
I can't. This is the only way it's going to happen, to come out by, like, say, Friday 13th in October. So for them to have it come out next year, they've already had to have an approved script, scout the location,
Yep.
and choose your cast members.
That was from
So
Sean Cunningham too that I read.
he can suck it for all I care. Because he wants that money.
Fuck you, Sean.
Yeah, pretty much. He wants to capitalize on October Friday 13th. It's not going to happen, and if you rush it out too quick, it's going to tank. It's going to be like 2010's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Now, if the only way I could see it happening is they took Tom McLaughlin's script, who was the writer and director of Part 6, because he's had this baby ready for like 2 years now. And if they start filming January, February, yeah, they could have it out. Because it's set in the snow. It's an all-female cast. It's a direct sequel to Part 6. So that's the only way I see it happening. But time will tell. I personally wouldn't mind seeing a follow-up to the 2009 reboot.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool story that kind of brought it all together, but was kind of something new.
We need a better cast though.
Yeah.
There was that other than Clay, and I don't remember her name, but the fake final girl. I think the and even his sister, the cast was forgettable.
Yeah.
There was no development. I didn't care that they got killed. I mean, the only person that I cheered for when they got killed was Trent.
Yeah, because he was a dick.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then more recently, and this will affect you because you're a big fan of this, Blumhouse and James Wan are combining forces.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Because Blumhouse, as far as I'm concerned, Blumhouse hits 500.
Right.
Because they'll put out a really good one and then a piece of shit.
Right.
I mean, James Wan hasn't really put out a piece of shit. I mean, even the later Insidiouses were still watchable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas, Halloween, the last two were just complete dog shit.
Now, James Wan, was he part of The Conjuring? Like,
Yeah.
did he do? Yeah,
Yep.
he did like the first two, but the third one he didn't do. Correct?
He was involved, but he didn't direct.
Yeah. Um, there was a really shitty art headline I saw today. Conjuring 4 will be based on the Warrens. And I'm like, well, haven't the last three
Yeah.
been based around the Warrens? Like, I'd be most interested to see what story they
I
would.
think they have to go with the crazy one in the 80s in Pennsylvania where the woman was raped, the husband was raped by the demon.
Oh,
I think that might
okay.
be the one.
All right.
I forget
Interesting.
the term or whatever they called the haunting. I don't remember, but I know it was Pennsylvania. I know they spent like 9 weeks there or some shit. Or
When I think about like a ghost being raped, I think of the scene from Scary Movie 2.
I was
Remember
thinking
when
Ghostbusters.
and rest in peace, that actress just passed
I
away
saw that.
at the young age of 65. She had cancer. But yeah, that was a I just love the scene from Scary Movie because he goes to like make out with Tori Spelling, but then she turns the tables and like just
The-
brings it in on him.
yeah, yeah.
um, so this will come out the week of Thanksgiving. What are your plans for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving. We're cooking the bird, eating here. Not a lot of
Nice.
plans. Everyone's coming here. I kick them out as soon as I can, and then I
How many people?
usually
How many
play
people?
video games.
Nice. How many people you cooking for?
8. Not much.
Okay.
Not a
Not
lot.
bad, not bad. Yeah, it's just me and Irene. I work Wednesday night and I'm like, yes, it's gonna be a quiet night. And then I just realized it's the night before Thanksgiving, it's party night. So we're gonna get the cops out, the DUI stations and whatnot.
Yep, you're
So
gonna have
I'll
calls,
probably
brother.
oh yeah. Yeah, I got a call last night. There was a missing cow. This is what happens out in my neck of woods. A cow ran away. So 8-month-old cow. Just the person just got them today, and I felt bad, baby cow, but it's like, how can you not find a cow?
We live in different
Yeah,
areas. We really, really do. I don't think.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So, all right, but I think we got everything
yeah, I think we're
away.
on board to hop into this weird dude.
Yeah, so Robert the Doll, I seen pictures of him. I really didn't know his backstory until I was actually listening to a podcast, Hollywood Haunted, and then Discovery had a really good documentary. I still haven't finished it, but even before that, on Tubi, and I think you've seen them, at least one of them, Robert the Doll movies,
Yeah, they're out
and
there.
and I think it just takes the liberty of the name, and that's pretty much it. So if we were to have a one-on-one, who would win, Annabelle or Robert the Doll?
After this story, I'll let you know because I don't know a
Okay.
whole lot about Robert Duvall.
Okay. Yeah, this would actually make for a good, like, if they went like the Annabelle route with it and made a legit Hollywood movie, I think it would be pretty good because there's a couple of stories about what Robert actually is, but he resides now in Key West, which of all places, I thought that was an odd place to, have a haunted doll. But all right, so let's get into it. As far as haunted dolls are concerned, those interested in the paranormal are most familiar with Annabelle, who reportedly tormented a nurse and her roommate during the 1970s. Annabelle's stories has been popularized by a big budget film franchise, but have you heard of Robert the Doll? People come from miles around to visit him at Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. Those visiting are advised to mind their manners around Robert's presence. Visitors are urged to introduce themselves as permission before taking a photo and thank Robert before leaving. Those who don't send letters to the museum often address to Robert. Those who don't send letters to the museum often address to Robert, detailing all the. Okay, hold on. Let me back this up.
No
I forgot a
problem.
comma. Those who don't abide by these rules will send a letter to the museum, basically forgiving to Robert, asking for forgiveness of not asking if I can take your picture or saying hi. And they'll also, in that letter, it'll talk about the misfortunes that arose since seeing him. Among the misfortunes by visitors who disrespected Robert include job loss, divorce, financial troubles, and even sickness. Many letters conclude with the writer pleading with Robert to lift his curse. There's rumor about Robert being an inspiration for Chucky, the homicidal of Child's Play, the homicidal maniac of Child's Play franchise, but he wasn't. According to a 2019 article, How Greed and Consumerism Inspired Chucky, film's creepiest talking doll, on Bustle, Chucky's creator Don Mancini wasn't inspired by Robert. Bustle quotes Mancini from an interview on Mick Garrett's podcast, Postmortem. Because of my exposure to the world of advertising and marketing through my dad, I was aware from an early age of the cynicism inherent in the world, particularly selling products to children. Madison Avenue refers to the children as consumer trainees, and I discovered that as a child. I thought I wanted to write a dark satire about how advertising affects children. There's a trilogy of independent movies bearing Robert's name that offers a very creative, fictionalized story of Robert's origins. We have Robert the Doll in 2016, Robert and the Toy Maker 2017, and Robert Reborn 2019.
Is there Amityville Robert?
Probably in another year. However, truth is more fascinating than fiction. Hold on 1 second. What are you chewing on? It's my darn puppy. You're cute, but you're annoying. Okay, so let's get into this. Robert lived with the Otto family of Key West during the early 20th century. Robert was the most treasured possession of their youngest son, Robert Eugene, born on October 25th, 1900. The doll was given as a birthday gift for his 4th birthday. Those who knew the family said that the son was attached to the doll and took him everywhere. He even gave the doll his first name, Robert, while he insisted on being called Gene from then on. And so the clothes that Robert wears, the real Robert, is the actual sailor outfit that the son wore. So you have a replica of what the son was wearing. So you think about it, the Robert the doll is the size of a 4-year-old basically.
Yeah.
And he's wearing 4-year-old clothing. So it makes it even more creepier.
It's a big ass doll.
It is a big doll, yeah. All right. Hold on 1 second. What are you? Stop. Anybody want a puppy? You can have free to a good home.
Hey, I told you.
All right. So, strange things started to happen. Gene's parents, Thomas and Minnie, would hear Gene talking late at night in his room. They heard a distinct voice answering him, but when they opened the door, they found Gene alone in his room talking to Robert. They would also hear Gene screaming at night. When they went into his room, they found Robert holding Gene down on the bed. Objects also began to fly across rooms, and his parents would find Gene's other toys mutilated. When they would try to discipline Gene, he would usually tell them, "I didn't do it, Robert did it." Thomas and Minnie Otto didn't get rid of Robert, but eventually put him in the attic. The Ottos were a prominent family who immigrated from Germany during the 19th century and eventually settled in Key West. Thomas Otto was a physician and pharmacist. The family owned 2 pharmacies in Key West. Thomas Otto was a physician and pharmacist. The family owned 2 I am sorry. That's a double sentence.
It is a double sentence. I'm reading it with you. That's weird.
Okay, so in those days, doctors often doubled as pharmacists since they did not make as much money as they do nowadays. Doctors often treated patients regardless of their ability to pay and often accepted goods and change in exchange for healthcare services. And then Gene was the youngest of 4 children, Mizpah, Joseph, and Thomas Osgood. Gene reportedly shared a close relationship with his sister, Mizpah. But in the documentary, you don't hear about the other kids. I didn't know he had siblings until I was reading up on this. All right, so you're putting a doll in the attic, and I know you have not seen this episode of Twilight Zone with the talking Tina. The father, I think they must have took liberties a little bit because the father put talking Tina in a trash can, but then she would reappear like somewhere in a house. And I thought of Terry over the weekend because when we were at Monster Mania, a friend of mine had bought she was a vendor there. She had bought a Tiffany doll, like the life-size one, and then she had a talking Tina doll. And that's my first time ever seeing it in person. It looked really cool. So you gotta find that episode, and then I think it's Trick or Treat Studio sells the doll. Terry likes what she sees. So all right, so let's get back to Robert. Okay, so Accounts differ as to where Robert the doll came from and who gave it to him. The origin story that circulated over the years was that Robert was a voodoo doll made by a Haitian servant, which that was discussed in documentary. But they left the voodoo part out of it. So,
Hmm.
yeah. The servant gave Robert to Jean as an act of revenge against the Ottos for mistreating her. Robert was said to be made with human hair and stuffed with straw. A team from Key West Art and Historical Society gives Robert an annual examination to make sure he stays in good condition. The team recorded every detail about Robert. Robert's hair is not human hair, but most likely mohair. He is stuffed with a straw like material and covered with felt. For those unfamiliar with Robert, he stands about 3 feet tall, weighs 6 pounds, has short blonde hair, black button eyes, and is dressed in a sailor suit complete with a hat. He also holds a plush lion who the museum staff named Leo in his arm. Jean gave Robert the sailor suit that belonged to him when he was little and also gave Robert his plush pet. So, um, I believe we'll get into the notes later, but the people that actually made the doll is the Stifel. So they're the ones out of Germany who are responsible for making the teddy bear. So that's where Robert comes from.
Well, this amateur lady screwed up because this guy's got brown hair.
Uh,
How dare?
no wonder it was $40. So when Jean went away to college as an adult to study architecture at the University of Virginia for 2.5 years, Robert didn't accompany Jean. Jean went on to study painting at the Academy of Fine Arts in Chicago for 3 years. Besides playing with Robert during childhood, Jean reportedly loved to paint. According to the family, Jean took up a paintbrush before he learned to speak. He spent the following 2.5 years working with the Art Students League in New York. From New York, he moved to Paris, where he established himself in a studio and met his future wife, Annette Parker. Parker was originally from New England and was in Paris studying music. The two married on May 3rd, 1930, at the American Cathedral in Paris. Jean and Anne Otto eventually moved back to the U.S. and in the mid 1930s settled in New York City. This was during the Great Depression and times were difficult financially for Jean and in both their families. Jean worked as a furniture salesman and Anne performed some shows at the Rainbow Room at Rockefeller Center as Anne Girard. The two composed and copyrighted more than 30 songs with Jean, writing the lyrics to Anne's music. One song of Time in the River was recorded by singer Jimmy Beerley. During the 1940s, Jean learned that his mother was sick and the couple moved to Key West. Robert hadn't been with Jean during his travels and had been left up in the attic. After his mother's death, Jean's siblings signed over their shares of the estate to Jean and Anne. Jean and Anne moved into the family home now known as the Artist House. The house currently serves as a bed and breakfast and is also a stop on a ghost tour. It's also one of the most photographed homes in Key West, other than Hemingway's former residence. Once he settled in with his wife in the family home, Jean resumed his close friendship with Robert. So that's kind of freaky.
That is kind of weird.
Yeah, you're like, okay, so he's probably in his late 30s to early 40s and he's hanging out with a doll. So if he lived in today's timeline, he'd be on that show, My Strange Addiction.
Yeah.
um, all right. So he resumed his relationship with Robert, much to his wife's dismay. Anne didn't like Robert and insisted Jean keep Robert in a separate room. Jean created a room especially for Robert in the attic. He even furnished the room with child-sized furniture and toys for Robert. Jean made Robert's room his studio and painted with Robert at his side. Myrtle Reuter, who later owned the Artist House, said that a neighbor told her that Anne said that when Jean would say or do something hurtful to her, he would tell her, "I didn't do it, Robert did it." It was during the 1940s that stories about Robert began to circulate. Many children who passed the Artist House on their way to school and reported seeing Robert moving from window to window in the attic room. In Key West, Jean became a respected citizen and artist as an adult. He had many art openings attended by prominent Key West residents. He also supported community organizations such as Key West Women's Club and Garden Club. Jean Otto passed away on June 24th, 1974 in a Miami hospital. It was determined that his death was caused by Parkinson's disease. An article in the Sun Sentinel written 10 years after his death said that in the months leading up to his death, Jean spent most of his time in the attic talking to Robert. After his death, Anne found out that she was written out of her husband's will. According to a letter written by Jean's sister, Mizpah Otto DeBow, to a nephew, Jean was hurt when he found out that he had been written out of his mother's will. Jean left everything to his sister Mizpah and owned the artist house jointly with Jean. She sold it to a neighbor and friend William Geyser. She gave Robert to Geyser and told him that doll was Jean's best friend. Of course, he never had any friends. Anne moved to Massachusetts to live with her sister. She died 5 years later in January of 1979 of pancreatic cancer. She was buried in Norwich, Connecticut. Is Robert a voodoo doll? Robert has been analyzed and examined by a team from Key West Art and Historical Society. Thanks to an analyst of Robert the Doll, and some detective work by paranormal investigator and author David L. Sloan. He sounds a little familiar. Much more is known about Robert's origins. Sloan's book, Robert the Doll, The True Biography of Key West Haunted Doll, which came out in 2014, includes extensive research on Robert and his caretakers, the Ottos. Sloan had access to family documents, including letters and diaries. Sloan tracked Robert's physical origins to the Steiff Company in Germany. The Steiff Company is a toy company established during the late 19th century. The company was started by seamstress Margaret Steiff, who made elephant-shaped pincushions. She noticed that children enjoyed playing with the pincushions and decided to start making more animal-themed toys. Eventually, her hobby developed into the Steiff Company, which became a reputable and innovative toy manufacturer. Steiff is credited with creating the most popular children's toy of all time, the plush bear in 1902, which would later become the teddy bear, named after former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt. So let's get back to Robert. The trademark that designated an authentic Steiff toy was a metal button inserted into the doll's ear with an elephant engraved in it or the company name. However, the evaluation team and Sloan have noted that Robert's right ear was originally missing. Sloan assumed that Jean may have torn it off accidentally as a child during play. Sloan contacted Rebecca Kaufman, Steiff's consultant and archivist for North America. He sent her detailed photos and provided description and Robert's measurements. Kaufman and a colleague agreed that Robert could be a Steiff toy. The following year, Kaufman found a doll similar to Robert that is confirmed Steiff toy up for auction. Kaufman's theory on Robert is that he was originally made to be used as a window display because of his lifelike proportions. Kaufman also said that Robert would have been very expensive. So now it's been confirmed Robert wasn't constructed as a voodoo doll. Theories as to why Robert could be haunted are that the servant could have put a curse on the doll after Jean received it. Robert could also be haunted by the spirit of a deceased child connected to the Otto family. And the most interesting theory is that Robert could have been charged by Jean's energy through his attachment and affection for Robert. Most accounts agree that Jean received Robert as a gift for his birthday. It's been established that Robert was most likely manufactured by the Steiff Company in Germany around 1904. The Otto family immigrated to the United States from Germany. According to Jean's sister Mizpah's family history, Jean's grandfather, Joseph Otto, maintained a relationship with relatives in Germany, and both German and American Ottos exchanged gifts. There's evidence that Jean's mother may have brought Robert to the U.S. after returning home from a trip to Hamburg on September 4th, 1904. Minnie Otto is on the passenger list for Hamburg America Lines Graf Wald Dries. Holy shit, try saying that 5 times fast. A little over a month before Jean's birthday on October 25th. What about the paranormal half of Robert's origin story? A voodoo curse by a disgruntled servant? The Otto family employed two servants from the West Indies, William and Emmeline Abbott. The Abbotts were a married couple who worked for the Ottos for many years, starting with Jean's grandfather, Joseph. The Abbotts are even buried in the Otto family plot. So that's saying something for that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emmeline Abbott gave birth to two children in 1900 and 1910. While there's no evidence to prove it, there's speculation that Emmeline Abbott may have had an affair with Jean's father, Thomas. Information obtained from several documents is caused to suspect that Thomas may have been unfaithful. According to Minnie Otto's journal, her husband received a lot of attention from women and that women in the community resented her because she wasn't from a wealthy background. Minnie also didn't want to be buried in the family plot for some reason. There's also mention of some interesting fatherly advice that Joseph gave to Thomas. Jean's grandfather is quoted as advising his son about venereal disease and to practice not abstinence but prophylactic care. Emmeline tried to file a lawsuit against the Ottos after Thomas's death. Something was going on, but there's no evidence to prove that Emmeline Abbott and Thomas Otto had an affair. The following are theories as to who haunts Robert, the spirit of Thomas Otto and Emmeline Abbott's child, or that it's her deceased child conceived with her husband, William. Another theory is that Emmeline used magic to trap her child's spirit in the doll. Perhaps Jean's attachment to Robert stems from Robert being haunted by a half sibling. Visitors to the museum, as well as members of the staff, have said that they've seen the apparition of what appears to be a female child of mixed race around Robert the doll. She's described about 5 years old with long brown curly hair, wearing an old-fashioned type nightgown. Poochie Meyer served as a caretaker for the artist house during the 1980s. She described seeing the spirit of the little girl sitting on a staircase. Meyer said the little girl seemed angry.
Hmm.
Robert has lived at the Fort East Martello Museum since 1994. Merle Reuter brought him to the museum. Reuter became the owner of the artist house after William Geiser and was Robert's caretaker for 20 years. At first, Reuter said that she didn't have any problems. She said that she would dress Robert in PJs and put him by the tree on Christmas Eve. She and her husband sold the artist house in 1980. She took Robert to her new home where she let him sit on the porch. She said that it was after moving into the new house that strange things started to happen. Key West Art and Historical Society Assistant Director Joe Pice spoke with Reuter. She sat Robert down in a chair in his office and said, "This is Robert, and he's part of the Otto family, and I can't stand him being in my house anymore." Reuter said that she locked Robert in a room after noticing that he moved on his own. After that, she said Robert locked her in a room. "He's haunted," she said to Pice. When Pice suggested that she should keep Robert, Reuter insisted that she wanted the doll out of the house and eagerly filled out the paperwork to donate him. She died less than 3 months later. After Robert arrived at the museum, paranormal activity decreased at the artist house and increased at the museum. Pice noticed something different about Robert. He kept Robert in a small antique chair in his office. Pice said that when he looked at Robert, he stared back at him in an unchildlike way. Pice believed that Robert was moving the chair around and made a mark near one of the chair legs to see if the chair was moving. Pice shared his office with museum director Susan Olson. She didn't like Robert and didn't want to be in the office if the doll was in there. Eventually, Robert was moved into the museum's artifact storage room. Robert stayed there for 2 years, and visitors could see him by appointment. Museum employees were so frightened of Robert that they often suggested visitors come back to visit on a day they weren't working, or put the responsibility of retrieving Robert on a coworker. In mid 1996, a local ghost tour was encouraging guests to visit Robert. After requests for Robert increased, he was placed on display. Robert's replica comes complete with the U.S. Navy insignia embroidered on his sleeve. According to NavyDads.com, the markings on Robert's sleeve indicate E.S. Petty Officer Second Class. Mini Robert also comes with this polite warning: "Thank you for your order. Take good care of my mini-me. I have my eye on you, Robert." Two men rented the house from Myrtle Reuter during the mid-1970s and said that they heard noise coming from the attic of children laughing and someone rummaging around. When they went upstairs to investigate, they noticed that Robert changed his position. The activity became more frequent. They invited a friend to see Robert, Malcolm Ross. Ross said that he experienced a strange feeling when he was around Robert, described it as a metal bar running down his back. Ross also described Robert changing facial expressions. He describes Robert as looking like a child being punished, and that as he talked to his friends about the room, Robert seemed to be following the conversation. Some examples of strange things that happened to Robert's visitors at the museum include the story of a couple who spent their honeymoon in Florida. After visiting Robert, they lost all their vacation photos as well as their wedding pictures. For their first anniversary, the couple decided to visit Robert again, and this time they brought Robert peppermint candy and showed Robert the candy. When they were alone with Robert, the lights in Robert's room went out for a minute. The couple felt that this was Robert's way of expressing his thanks for the candy. David Sloan said that he had some strange experiences while doing research and writing his book on Robert. He said that he lost 4 hard drives and that computer techs were able to retrieve everything except the book manuscript. Backups of the manuscript also disappeared. More than one spirit medium also advised him to build a fireproof safe for his valuable while he was working on the book. Sloan was told that if Robert didn't approve of the book, he would give Sloan cancer. Well, that sucks.
Damn.
Yeah. Sloan also said that he was pulled from his bed. He held suspended in midair, and then that he had been levitated. Sloan also founded the Ghost Tour in Key West that in 1996 influenced Robert's mood from museum storage to permanent display. Jessica Schrankengass-Naumann, forgive me if I pronounced that wrong.
Okay, you got it.
And her last name, strangely enough, means frightened of ghosts. Manager of the artist house put a decorated bowl of plastic lemons on the reception desk. The lemons suddenly started to disappear. Guests checking out would return them. They didn't say anything, but just put the lemons back. About a month later, a package arrived with no name, no note, and no return address, just a lemon. So you steal Robert's lemon, he's gonna fuck with you. Months later, a guest asked if she had seen a letter to Robert at the Fort East Martello Museum. The letter was from a woman who found a lemon among her and her husband's belongings when they returned home from Florida. She wrote that she and her husband had seen Robert several times but never experienced anything negative. During their last visit, they stayed at the artist's house in the Tourette suite below the attic room where Robert lived for many years. They decided to take a look in the attic and popped up into the hatch door. They took pictures thinking that they might catch something paranormal on camera. The next day before checkout, they were doing some last minute shopping. She began to feel pain, started running a fever, and noticed a rash. After arriving home, a doctor diagnosed her with shingles. Her husband started to feel pain and was diagnosed with kidney stones. When she was unpacking, she found a plastic lemon up in one of her shirts. She didn't know how it got into her suitcase. She thought that Robert was the cause of her and her husband's sickness. She thought that Robert was punishing them for taking pictures of the attic without his permission. She mailed the lemon back to the artist's house. Once the lemon was on its way back, she and her husband began to recover. She requested that her letter be posted near Robert. Another story is from someone who said that they followed Robert's rules. The writer told Robert their name, asked permission before taking his photo, and thanked Robert. Later that night, their bottom lip swelled to twice its size, and they developed a rash on both their arms and hands that lasted for a couple of days. They looked up Robert on the internet and didn't find any information to suggest that the rules weren't followed. As they closed the tab, they noticed another tab open with no title on it. There was only one sentence on the page that read, "You did not say where you were from." There is one positive letter mentioned. The writer was a woman who said that she had nothing but the best of luck after visiting Robert. The specifics aren't mentioned, but the woman expresses her appreciation and thanks to Robert. The letter goes on to refer to Robert as a demon whose role is to teach people to ask permission. She goes on to say that Robert is specifically a demon in charge of good manners. I didn't think there was one that suggested.
There isn't, because they wouldn't
Yeah.
know shit about. Anyway, continue.
Robert the Doll has long been the subject of speculation in the paranormal community. Hold on. Okay, so I want to make sure I didn't like type something separate. All right, so as we stated, he's currently main attraction in Ghost Tour at the artist's house, including the apparition of a woman who appears in the garden. There's a theory that the feminine presence is Anne Otto, and that she's there to protect people from Robert. According to a report from October 25th, 2003, Jean Otto's birthday, a gathering of 80 people witnessed a blue orb come from the sky through the guest house roof and appeared to the crowd in front of the house. The orb went through the balcony and disappeared into the ground. So how can you see an orb during daylight?
Well, you can if it's reflecting off of like dust,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
all orbs are. You freaks.
Yeah. The orb is said to have appeared again on October 2012 as a tour guide was sharing new information uncovered by the Otto family. The orb reportedly circled this head for several minutes. Whether you believe it's voodoo, a child spirit, Jean Otto's energy charging Robert, or maybe that Robert is simply an antique doll with an eccentric caretaker, Robert the Doll's story is fascinating. There have been many attempts over the years to try to communicate with the spirit surrounding Robert the Doll. Robert currently has 2 Facebook pages. One run by the Fort East Martello Museum, and the other is the Robert the Doll Experience, organized by David Sloan. The museum also has a gift shop online of Robert merch, including, of course, a mini Robert replica. But I bet you can't get it for the sweet deal that you got.
Hell
it for.
no.
Yeah.
And handcrafted.
So what do you think? There's many speculations.
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know. This Sloan all of a sudden has like Facebook pages for him, so I don't believe shit about Sloan.
Yeah, I think he's like the who's the guy in Amityville, David or Rick Asuna.
Oh, that motherfucker.
Yeah, maybe he's like the Rick Asuna for the Robert the Doll.
Yeah, a lot of weird shit. A lot of different stories.
Yeah. So if you were to visit a museum, would you be a rebel and take a picture without asking, or would you follow the rules?
Well, no one's really dying, so I would just take a picture without asking.
Even if you got like elephantitis of the nuts?
It's fine. Everything goes away in like 2 days.
Yeah, true. But you wouldn't be able to ride a bike. So
I can't do that. I don't do that anyway. That's fine. I'll get out of work for a couple days. It'd be great.
there you go. All right, so who do you think would win? Annabelle versus Robert.
I think Annabelle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's more witnesses to Annabelle. And then
Yeah.
she physically attacked the dude and left marks.
Yeah.
Well,
See, like the
left
story.
marks.
When I think of like a teddy bear with a spirit, I think of Ted, Mark Wahlberg.
Oh my god, that was so
As I
funny.
was like writing the notes for this, I had it in the background. I think it was, I forget which one it was, but they go to the improv night and they're sitting in the back heckling the actors.
Yeah. You want to go to the improv club and do sad stuff? Yeah. Make believe his mom died.
On 9/11. So yeah, very interesting story. And now I do want to watch like at least the first Robert the Doll and just see how bad it is.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty bad.
Have you I'm sorry, you've seen it before, right?
No, I've never watched
Oh,
any of
you
the Robert.
haven't. I thought
No,
you said you watched at least the first one. Okay.
no.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like scary movies, holiday, I am gonna make a plan to go see two Christmas movies this year. Silent Night, what was it? No. The one with David Harbour from Strange.
Yes.
I want to see that. That comes out the weekend after following Thanksgiving. And then the David Howard Thornton, The Grinch. I think it's called The Mean One, where he plays the evil Grinch. Well, the Grinch is evil, but
Oh, there's
yeah.
another Grinch movie.
Yeah, but it's David Howard Thornton and it's a killer Grinch.
Okay,
Yeah.
that I could get down with. The
And
David Harbour, I thought it was gonna be like an evil Santa, but that's kind of like not the plot.
no, he's like I guess a bad Santa, just like
I
I
think
guess someone.
he's actual Santa, so I'm kind of like,
Oh, really? Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know he was actual Santa. I thought he'd be like a mall Santa. Speaking of like actual Santa, you want to watch a crazy movie? You might have seen it, maybe Fat Man with Mel Gibson.
No,
I think it's on. It might be on Tubi. I know it's on one of the streaming services. He plays Santa, and he's mean, disgruntled. But now Santa, he, he doesn't live. I forget. It's like not the North Pole, but it looks like Alaska or something. And I guess like the Christmas spirit is down, and he's going to lose the farm. So he signs a contract with the government for the elves to make like nuclear missiles or something. That's like the subplot. The main plot is this little rich bastard who didn't get a gift he wanted for Christmas. So he hires an assassin to kill Santa. And the assassin is played by Walt Goggins, who have you ever watched The Shield?
oh yeah, I know Walk Goggins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's the assassin, and he's got a grudge against Santa because he too didn't get a gift. It's just an out there movie, but it's a fun popcorn film.
Yeah,
I mean, because that's what Mel Gibson's reduced to now, making these
I know.
weird
From
movies.
Braveheart to this shit, I don't know.
Well, when you are drunk and you go off spewing hatred.
Yeah, I guess don't do that.
But now I know you don't like Christmas, but what about Krampus? Do you like Krampus,
Nope,
that movie?
nope,
Really?
nope, nope. The whole story is lame. Not a fan.
What about the one where Santa fights Krampus? I'll shoot you the title. It's actually not bad. It's called like Tales of Christmas, maybe. It's actually pretty good.
We'll
It's
see.
just like it's like an anthology movie, but
Ah,
it
I
all
think I
comes back.
saw that on one of the streaming
Okay.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Krampus. I mean, it was a funny movie because,
Well, yeah, it was a dark comedy.
yeah, but I mean, everything Christmas. I'm just out.
Man. Something
Yeah.
happened to you in your childhood?
No, I
No,
just can't stand it.
really.
Like it was, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't know. It just maybe because it's the end of Halloween that I just get pissed off and then
I
take it
think
out on
so.
Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. You're take it out on Thanksgiving, not Christmas.
No, I love Thanksgiving. Are you kidding me? That turkey's amazing. Dude, you don't understand like how it used to work before when they had the Thursday shopping and the Black Friday shopping,
Hmm.
she'd be out of the house from like 3 p.m. So I wouldn't see her again till like 8
Oh my
a.m. She'd
gosh.
go crazy. So that was my time to just sit here and fucking eat and play Call of Duty. I would have like
Okay,
plate after plate after plate of fucking just turkey from that span.
gotcha. Okay.
Like I would even get up with her and turn the Xbox on just to have more time.
But now
But
there's no
now
more
it's
shopping on
closed on
there.
Thanksgiving, which is fine
Well,
because
as it should be. I
it
mean,
should be.
it got that. That's a horror
It
story
brings
right
back the
there.
real Black Friday.
Yes, but even still, it's like not even the same anymore because malls aren't busy
Yeah,
at all.
but Amazon's not running that much, and Best Buy and Walmart still do pretty good shit. So
I have not seen the damn Black Friday ad for Best
there,
Buy.
you got. I haven't seen the Walmart one yet.
And like because like I usually like look at the movie section or in the TV show section because the shows that I collect like
Yeah,
Walking Dead, it'll be on sale for like $10.
yep.
But I unless I'm like totally looking in the wrong, what is that? Sorry. Totally in the wrong place. I can't find a goddamn flyer.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna put this is gonna be half podcast studio, half screening room. So I'm probably like 2 or 3 years away because I want to do the stadium seating with the
nice.
recliners.
Okay.
But I want to put an 80 inch. I may do projection, but I'm not a huge fan of projection.
It'll take away from the quality, I think.
It does, but I was listening to a video game podcast I listened to, and he's just as picky as me, if not more.
Okay.
And the one he has, he sets to 100 inches. He says it's just like his OLED.
Oh,
But I don't know how much he paid for that. It's probably a $2,000 projector.
yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I just want a big screen in here with my popcorn machine over to the right.
I'll be over. Get
Oh,
that
yeah.
popcorn machine going. Yeah.
I think I can fit 2 rows of 3 in here before I come too close.
Okay. Oh, very nice.
That's the plan. Just to split the office.
There you go. That sounds good. All right. Well,
Yeah,
that
we
is
got nothing else. That was Robert Dahl. I mean, we're all caught up in the news. Um, work on a couple other topics. It was funny. I was listening to a podcast I listened to, the Brohio podcast,
okay.
and they did still active serial killers.
Mm.
They don't really fully reach. They're more comedy than anything. They're a bunch
Okay.
of knuckleheads.
Like Last House on the Left type.
Yeah, but they research harder.
Oh, they do. Yeah,
They,
but they mix the
oh
comedy in
yeah,
there,
yeah.
though. Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. But he was talking. They brought up the Eastbound Strangler from Atlantic City.
Oh, okay.
But he's like, oh man, that's all a bunch of rich white people in Atlantic City. I'm like, what?
Where's the rich and white people?
Where's
in
the
Atlantic
white
City?
people? I grew up
Yeah.
there. I was one of maybe two.
Yeah.
So I was just like, what? So I didn't believe anything
So
they had to
don't know
say.
they don't know their area.
Because there's also a chance that I read, and we'll eventually do a show on it, but it could be the same guy as the Long Island serial killer.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Kind of the same MO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll look at the Long Island serial because that's
So
interesting.
I'm guessing they haven't caught this guy
Nope,
then?
very
Oh.
still active. I think the
Oh.
last body was 2018.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's very recent. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll move on to cool stuff. We'll let the holidays get out of the way and we'll work on some filming location stuff.
Yeah.
To actually use this YouTube.
Yeah, speaking of filming locations, yeah, the Amityville movie house is for sale.
Yeah,
The
Tom's River.
The Christmas Story house is for sale.
I saw that whole
And now
thing's for sale, right?
The Goonies house is for sale.
Eh.
Yeah, the Christmas Story house, that house, the Bumpus house, the museum, like the museum across the street or
Yeah.
whatever, it's all for sale.
Where is all that?
Cleveland. Yeah,
But
and
then
it's
you're in
all
Cleveland.
yeah. I know. I guess it's on the nicer part. I don't know. I've never been. But they relocated all to the same area,
That's
so it's not
cool.
like you're going to different places. But the guy's owned it for 20 years, and I can't believe it's been 20 years because I remember reading it when he first bought it. He retired out of. I mean, he's a young guy. He retired out of the Air Force. He bought this. I mean, he's probably made a sweet dime on
I'm
this.
sure he
So
has.
he's like, you know what? I'm just going to kick back and I guess he's got to be like my age, maybe
Yeah.
maybe a couple years older. He's like, I'm just going to kick back and enjoy my life.
Yeah. These horror people don't
So
get it, man. I mean, you could get these houses.
yeah. So I just hope whoever buys these homes, treat it with the respect that they deserve and think about making it an Airbnb or something. I mean, look at Buffalo Bill.
Horror fans are nuts. We'll come
Yeah.
stay. We don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are
Uh,
spending like 500 a night to go sit in a 1700s Victorian hut just because The Conjuring happened there.
or spending $1,000 a night to sleep in a cabin on the grounds of Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
ever done that full lake tour where they
I
take you?
have, yes.
Was
And
it
if
worth
you're
it?
when I went, yeah, because it was $1.75,
It's not bad.
4 hours, and they had four alumni, which I knew two were going to be there. Obviously, that's a little extra money if you want to go that route. But if you're a horror fan and you want to like walk where the actors walked and just have that experience, it's well worth because they give you a nice swag bag too with
Yeah, I
goodies.
saw that, and
Yeah.
one of the TikToks I saw did it. It was some model chick, so I'm sure she didn't fully appreciate it.
No, I think I
But it
saw that
looked
what you're
like,
talking
yeah, it
about.
looked like the cabins were kept in pretty much the same condition, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the only cabin that's not there anymore is oh boy, which one's not there anymore?
Because I know the kitchen one was there, the one she got changed in was
Yes.
there, the one Kevin Bacon died in was there,
There.
and
Yeah,
then
there's
the
one that's
kitchen one was there, and then the
the
boiler
generator
generator. Yeah,
room, the I think it's more like a not so much a barn, but where Claudette and Barry got killed in the beginning, that's still there. There's one that's not there, and I just can't I don't remember which one's there. Um, but it's funny because the archery range, everything is very in close proximity. It wasn't like you had to walk all over camp. Like actually the lake to getting to like Kevin Bacon's cabin was like a hop, skip, and a jump. It's funny how movie magic works.
yeah.
I'm thinking of going October of next year. So if you want to go, no,
How the
not on
hell
your
am I
bucket
going to do
list.
that?
I don't know. Relive Friday the 13th. We can recreate some funny photos.
Well, let me think.
Uh,
Blairstown. I could probably still hit a haunt that night, so maybe.
oh, that's right. It's October. I
Yeah.
forgot.
There's no plans in October.
Yes, Brian. But
Ah,
yeah, I'm actually my costume designer, J3 Jason Costumes, uh he was making plans to come down that weekend for a different event, but now that he's not going to be a part of said event, I said, still come down. I'll treat you to Camp Crystal Lake tour. So, it's a fun, and it's worth. I mean, it was getting a little pricey because they were getting greedy,
yeah.
at one point, but I think they kind of scaled it back, which was good because it was too much money. I mean, granted, it was like a 12-hour tour, but for what they're charging, I'm like, you're just being greedy right
Yeah.
there. You know,
I
now my
gotcha.
thoughts are fighting. So, all right.
All right, guys. Brian, thank you for that hell of a stroll down this dude's history.
Now, if you see him looking at you or whatever, don't blame me.
No, there's so much supernatural dolls in this place that we'll see. Don't be reading too close either, you fucker. No, but I gotta get the card from Terry, and then I'll put it on the next show of the little woman who sold all this stuff because
Yeah, that's
she had a
cool.
lot of custom horror, so it was
Yeah,
actually
and
really
she also
cool.
had like that Jason Cabbage Patch, right?
Yeah, underwater.
Yeah.
So she used like
Yeah,
aquarium greens.
that's cool.
He's got the chain. It was cute.
That's cool.
It was cute.
Nice.
But guys, thank you so much for stopping by. This has been the Horror Shed Podcast. We will see you next week.